The US and EU have imposed sanctions on Russia to hinder its ability to fund the war in Ukraine. But a new report points out a major loophole. The report by rights group Global Witness says the Kremlin is making money from second-hand purchases of refined oil by the EU. That's despite an EU ban on oil imports from Russia as part of its sanctions program. DW's Brussels correspondent Jack Parrock has the story.
Oil tankers like these are still bringing Russian oil into the EU, and it earned the Kremlin 1.1 billion euros last year. According to a new report by the NGO Global Witness, a legal loophole is allowing Russia to sell its oil in the EU despite a sanctions ban against imports.
Countries which haven't imposed sanctions on Russian oil are able to import millions of barrels of Russian crude oil. They refine them in those countries, and at the point that they've become a refined product like fuel or diesel, it's no longer considered Russian. And so this fuel is freely imported into the European Union.
They followed oil tanker movements and delved into publicly available Russian tax revenue information in their research. The oil is mainly coming through India and Turkey, but also Bulgaria, which is actually inside the EU. When the EU brought in the sanctions on refined petroleum products in February 2023, they did so with limited exceptions. One of those exceptions being to allow Bulgaria to continue to import refined oil in order to prevent a major economic hit to the EU's poorest nation. In a statement to DW, the European Commission acknowledged the loophole. We do not prohibit the import of refined petroleum products from third countries which do not have a Russian origin because of the refining process, they said. The 1.1 billion euros in oil sales is the equivalent of NATO's recent pledge to spend on ammunition for Ukraine and member states' stockpiles. And on the other side, it buys Russia around 1,200 cruise missiles, the type it's been using to strike targets in Ukraine for 2 years now.
DW Brussels correspondent Jack Parrock filed that report. I asked him earlier whether the EU is going to do anything about closing this legal loophole.
It doesn't look so. The main thing that they can do is try and end this derogation for Bulgaria, which allows Bulgaria to continue to purchase oil. It was set out in order to sort of prevent a real big shock in the Bulgarian economy. We've been pressing, and indeed many journalists have been pressing the European Commission for many months about this derogation that Bulgaria has. As yet, that remains unchanged.